Hello, everyone, and welcome to Ready, Set, Smart webinar series, where we're providing weekly opportunities highlighting how SMART can provide a fluid workflow of blended learning opportunities that benefit students. We'll show you how to create lessons and activities focused on classroom instructional practices and best strategies. My name is Jennifer Underwood, and I'm the Professional Development Specialist from Tampa, Florida. This week's webinar, Self-Paced Lessons in 5 with Smart Learning Suite Online, features Teddy Kambrov, a SMART Professional Development Specialist and soon-to-be from California. Before we have Teddy take over, I thought we'd run through a few housekeeping items. Depending on the device with which you're viewing this webinar, you'll notice either the bottom or the top of your screen a few options that you have in terms of interacting with today's presentation. During the presentation, I'll place links and any additional information in the chat box. If you have any questions that you'd like to ask as we go along, please ask those in the chat box during the presentation, and I'll either integrate them into the flow or hold them to be answered at the end of our session during our question and answer period. Also, for participating today, a PD certificate will be provided to you at the end of our webinar. We will post a brief feedback survey in the chat, and when you submit, it will provide you with a link to claim your PD certificate. At this point, I'm going to turn things over to Teddy so that she can dive you into today's webinar, Self-Paced Lessons in 5 with Smart Learning Suite Online.
Great, thanks Jennifer. Well, like Jennifer said, today's webinar is titled Self-Paced Lessons in 5 with Smart Learning Suite Online. So if you're not familiar with Smart Learning Suite Online, you get to learn all about it as well as create a lesson if you'd like in literally 5 minutes. And our focus will be self-paced. So this will be lessons that students can do on their own without you necessarily guiding them through it. So a little bit more about me. Like Jennifer said, I am a professional development specialist, and my contact info is actually displayed on this screen if you'd like to contact me via email or Twitter. I have been a teacher as well as a school administrator and a curriculum specialist in a nonprofit focused on adults with developmental disabilities. So what we're going to do today is experience this Smart Learning Suite online lesson from a student's perspective and kind of understand what it's like for students. So these are meant to be self-paced lessons, but we're actually going to walk through them together today so that you can see what it looks like. And after we've done that, we'll build a self-paced lesson for you to use, and I'll model that process for you. So you can either watch me do it at that point or just kind of follow along with what I'm doing on your end. So our lesson that we're going to experience today is on growth mindset and remote learning. Remote learning is something that we are all doing to some extent because of our situation that we find ourselves in. So that's what we're going to talk about today. To begin, I'd like you to please open up a new incognito window or a new tab. And I don't know how to do that right now, so I'll go ahead and do that again. And we're going to right click on our browser, and we're going to open a new incognito window. And since you'll be my students, I'd like you to go to hellosmart.com. And I'm going to display my windows side by side so that you can see what it's like from both perspectives. So here's my teacher view, and as my students are joining, they will have to go to hellosmart.com and put in my class code. I'd like for you to please join as a guest. So go to hellosmart.com, join me as a guest, and then put in my code, 75472. It'll ask for your name. I'll put in my name since I'm joining my own lesson. It'll be easy for me to find myself here. And I'll give everyone a minute. So I'm having you guys join as guests because it's just easier to join as a guest in an incognito tab, and then transition to a teacher role afterwards within our webinar today. But your students, they wouldn't need to do that. They would simply sign in. They won't have to use an incognito tab, and they would actually sign in as themselves. That way you can view their work after they've completed the lesson in self-paced mode. So just give everyone a second to kind of get into the lesson. In this lesson, I'm going to show you the use of 3 different Smart Learning Suite features. We'll look at YouTube videos, individual handouts, and some game-based activities. And then you'll get to make your own lesson. So it looks like this is taking a little while to load. I guess my graphic is a little bit complex from the slides that I've used, but that's okay. Either way, today we're learning about growth mindset and remote learning, and then specifically how that can help us persevere through this unique remote learning experience. So let's get started. Our first activity is going to be an individual handout. So right now on the student side, it kind of just looks like a page and you can't really do anything with it because I have not actually made it into a handout yet. But in this handout, I want my students to click on the link that is linked on your page. And you're going to learn more about growth versus fixed mindsets and then write a summary of what you've learned. So notice you don't have any tools right now, but once I decide to release this to you as an individual handout by going over to where you are all logged in and then selecting individual handout, you will be able to actually interact with that content. So go ahead and click start. Once you get the start icon, you can see here I have a start icon as a student, so go ahead and start it. And you'll be able to really engage with the content here. As well, I have a teacher handout that I will pull up. And with the teacher activity, the teacher handout, I can actually model what I want you to do. So I want you, like I said, to visit this website. So you click it, it opens up a new window. So I'm directing my students to a very specific website where you're going to learn about the mindsets, the growth mindset, as well as a fixed mindset and why growth mindset is so important. And after you do that, you would pick up your text tool on your left side and you would type in your paragraph. Just like that. So make sure you can click that link, you can type, you can even move your type around and so on. So as a student, again, I have the same options. I can click that link. It'll open a new tab where I get to read about fixed versus growth mindsets. Once I'm done, I simply go back to my handout that I'm working on and I pick up my text tool, the letter A here. I click into my handout and I choose maybe a different font if I feel like having a different font color, etc. And I talk about growth mindset. So I'll add my little explanation right here as a student. So I can even, as a teacher, collapse my teacher activity. And as my students are working, I can go in and see what they are working on. So if I want to go into Teddy's, which is mine, I can see what she's put in here. So as the teacher, I am now looking at the handout that me as a student has completed. And guess what? As a teacher, I can pick up my pen or any of these other tools and I can say, yep, that's right. Or I can even write a comment and say, you know what, give me an example of a growth mindset. Or you know what, what's your growth mindset, especially during our unique circumstances right now.
Teddy,
So
I love this page. Like, I love that students are able to pull
yeah.
in any tool, be able to write, add text. It's really exciting to be able to express themselves and write those summaries about what they've researched from the link that you've provided for them.
Yeah, it is. And it's so great too as a teacher because whatever my students do, I can see, not only right now when I'm with you synchronously, but the point of this is that with a self-paced lesson, I can then open this lesson up again and all of your work is just trapped here in these buttons. So if I wanted to see what Sarah's doing, I can pull up her stuff or what she's done maybe, because maybe I'm grading it after she's done. I can go in, I can, give her some feedback, etc. So that's really nice, and it allows you the flexibility of timing. So the students might do this at some point on Thursday or Friday, and then on Monday, maybe you'll grade it, right?
Yeah.
So
And
also know that these check marks that you see indicate that those students are done. So if I'm a student and I'm done and I like this and I'm ready to submit, I click done and then I get a check mark. So my teacher knows I'm ready and then maybe she gives me feedback and I see that, oh, well, actually she wants me to give an example of a growth mindset. So let me edit this. Let me revise what I submitted so that I could maybe do better on it, which is essentially what growth mindset is about, right? Revising things, getting better, practicing more, all of that stuff.
it's nice when you get the check mark to be able to progress monitor from afar and know how your students are doing to be able to check in with them.
Yeah, absolutely. That way you can see, if a student's been working on it or not over time. So that is an example of a handout. It's just one of my PowerPoint slides or my PDF pages or whatever content I imported, which I will show you how to do in a little bit. Another really cool feature of Smart Learning Suite is that you can give students specific YouTube videos that do not have any advertisements. So again, this is self-paced, so your students would open up the lesson, do the handout, and then maybe they'd watch the video to review what growth mindset is and how it can help them. So I've pulled this specific video. From your side, you can go ahead and hit play and see how that works.
So this is your brain. Say hi. Okay, it's a representation of your brain. Brains don't have hands. They have lobes and other structures, which we'll get to. But I want to talk to you about your brain.
I'm going to mute it on my side just so I can talk over it. But as you can tell, when you began playing that video, it just played for you as a student, just like it's just playing for me as a student in my lesson copy that I am using. I can also kind of fast forward through some parts of the video or rewind back. As a student, I can control that. And I can watch it as many times as I want. And I can also usually add captions if that feature is enabled based on which video you pull. So that's really nice for accessibility as well. Okay, so that's YouTube. The next couple of features I want to show you are game-based activities. Now we have 11 different game-based activity wizards that we use that have all kinds of different themes, but I just picked 2 that we can experience today so that we just get an idea of what that looks like. So with Super Sort, just like the video, you can click start on your end as a student and practice. I can also do that here as a teacher. Site. So as you can see here, we are sorting growth mindset and fixed mindset examples. And what the students would do here is simply click on one of the cards, whichever one they want to start with, and then drag it over to the hut that it belongs to. You keep dragging. Now, if you get it wrong, you'll see that it just kind of bounces back out and gives you a chance to try again. As you continue, When you're done, I'll just go through this to show you what it looks like. In this particular theme, you'll see that the little huts, they just kind of like shake and say, good job.
Teddy, the game-based activities are a great way for students to practice and continue to reinforce and build that automaticity in their understanding or their learning of the new concepts.
Yeah, that's a great point. And to that point, the students can actually reset these games and it jumbles up the cards once again so they can practice one more time to kind of get a better understanding. So we started with a handout that they completed some research for, and you were able to see that as a teacher. Then we did a YouTube video to really solidify that understanding. And now we're doing some practice with some fun game-based activities. And these all have different themes. So like the super sort, that has several different ones. Some are spaceships, pirates, some are just plain. So it's totally up to you which one you pick. And I will say you can also add images. So you don't have to just type text, you can add images as well. I'm gonna show you one more game-based activity.
The super sort, you can even make your own theme, which is really exciting.
Oh yes, that's right. Super sort, you can make your own theme too, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
The second game I want to show you is it's good for checking for understanding, but more so for student accountability. So self-check for understanding. And I am specifically showing you Game Show because if they are doing this lesson at home by themselves because we're doing, you know, this remote learning or hybrid learning, or you just sent this home to practice, either way, they can pull in a sibling or a parent and kind of show what they've learned in class. So with Game Show, if you click Start, you'll see that there are actually 2 players, but you play on the same device. So I would pull in my mom or, you know, my sister or my grandma, and maybe I would play with her. So I will start. I'll be this, this one right here. Oh, and I get a power up. So go ahead and play it on your end as a student to see what that looks like. It's just a few questions.
My students always love this. And it's nice you can do this in a remote setting as well. And they can compete, like you said,
I love that you
somebody
can
in their house.
incorporate, yeah, you can incorporate other people at your house. Yeah, that's a really fun feature.
What child doesn't want to beat their mom, right? Or their sibling.
Mom, look at everything I learned.
Exactly. In the classroom, I always liked having students create the questions and then I'd answer them as the teacher, but then they'd get to play a game that they made. So that was always an exciting way for them to see what they've learned, help each other, be able to review for an assessment or something new, or just for fun.
Yeah, that's a great idea. You can even have students submit questions and then maybe put them all together in a game show or other game-based activity that is similar to this.
Yeah, really individualizes it.
Yep. So I just added just a few questions so that we get the idea in this short webinar today. But as you can see, we have a winner. We can review. And again, this is all just on one device. If you're face-to-face, you might do this, you know, on your smart board. But of course, with home, it's a little different. But you can review either way. Okay, so let's review growth mindset. This is the last thing I want to show you. And this is another handout, but just using it in, excuse me, a little bit of a different way. So I'll go ahead and release this handout to you again. And this time you will use images as well. So the directions for this handout are that you would use the image and text tools on the left. So the text tool is the A, the image is the Polaroid. to first find a meme that you most identify with that represents your growth mindset. And then you would explain why you most identify with that meme. So you're really personalizing learning this way. And again, this is just a slide that I made into a handout to use these tools and to make it more interactive for our students during self-paced learning. So let's go ahead and look at the image tool. And I'll search for growth mindset meme and see what comes up for that. And some of you were playing with the images earlier, so you kind of already saw that. And here's my meme. I picked a meme right here. And then I would get the text tool and say, this represents my growth mindset because I like to learn new things. And I can see if my students understood growth mindset and why it's important, because I'm asking them to personalize it to what they believe. So as a teacher, again, when I go ahead and check in with my students, I can see who put what and who's done, give them some feedback. Like here, I see Seesaw has gotten a funny meme that's so cute. Let's see what Lindsay's up to. Yes. It's funny because when you search for growth mindset memes, it's always about cats for some reason. I'm not even a cat person, but that's just what it is.
Cats are funny. I guess that's why they're always memes.
Yeah, Alicia, I totally understand where you're coming from, especially like you're getting ready to start school or you've just started school and it's just a totally different environment. So hopefully what I'm going to show you next will help you, will make it a little bit easier for you to use technology. Okay. So we've done a couple of handouts, we've seen a YouTube video, and we've done a couple of game-based activities, and these are all accessible by students by themselves. So what I would do now is actually show you how I created that. So there are two ways to access Smart Learning Suite. You could go to suite.smarttech.com, and that's like the actual Smart Learning Suite website. Or if you are a Google user, you could just go through Google Drive. So once you do that, you will get to the point where you can just add activities and content. And that's what I'm going to walk you through right now. So as a student, go ahead and leave my class. You would go in the upper left corner and you would simply just select Leave Class. And then what you can do is, if you don't have Google, once you leave my class, go ahead and click on Are You a Teacher? Visit suite.smarttech.com. So after you leave my class, again, if you don't have Google Drive integration, you would go to Are You a Teacher at the bottom, visit suite.smarttech.com and click Sign In that way. So do that sign in process. And then you would sign in with probably Microsoft or Google if you don't have the Google integration. With the Google integration, it would just be going into your Google Drive, starting a new file, and finding the Smart Learning Suite option. So two ways. From your Google Drive, you would go to New, More, Smart Learning Suite. Or if you don't have Google or you don't have Google integration, you would simply go to suite.smarttech.com and sign in as a teacher as yourself.
And I'll add the Google resources also in the chat.
Awesome, thank you. So what I'll do is I'll just go through suite.smarttech.com. And I do have Google, but I'll sign in with Google anyway. And it'll load for a couple of seconds if you haven't signed in before or it's been a while. I'm signing in incognito, so it's going to take a second. So I am now signed in, and now I can create my lesson. So what I'm going to do is recreate that growth mindset lesson with you right now so that you can see how I made it in 5 minutes. The first step is to click Add Activities. I'll do that again. So from your home page, you click the big green button for Add Activities. At this point, you can import a resource, which I will do, or you can even start from just any of the other things. What I've shown you today are YouTube videos and game-based activities. And then there are some ready-made handouts under these two things. And you can also make a handout by adding a new page. It's kind of just like a blank page, and you can do whatever you want with it. But I already have my growth mindset PowerPoint, so I'm just going to use that. And in that case, I would simply import that resource. And since it's right here where I left it, I'll go ahead and open that up. And what it's doing is actually just making a copy of that and importing it into my Smart Learning suite. So it will not edit my original file. My original file will stay the same whether I'm pulling it from Google Drive or I'm pulling it from my computer. Okay, great. So it's pulled in my PowerPoint. And if you recall, we did 2 handouts. So I had my title page, and then we did 2 handouts. The first one was what is a growth mindset? And then the second one was representing your growth mindset with a meme. So those are the 2 things I'm actually starting with that are just pages in my file. So what I'm going to do is first I want to convert this individual handout on what is a growth mindset into an actual handout. But remember, I had a link on that page because that's what I plan to do. So I would go ahead and grab that link. I would just copy it. And then up here, I have the option in editing mode to add online content, similar to what I have when I'm delivering the lesson or as a student. I would simply select this middle option here. I would paste in that link that we used. There it is, and I can put it wherever I want. I like to hit this arrow here and actually lock that link so that my students don't move it around or accidentally delete it, because they will need it for this assignment. And that's how I got the link in there. So just up here where there is add online content. I'll continue editing, and at this point what I'll do is convert this into an individual handout. So at the bottom, in order to make it so that my students can play with it and interact with it, I would have to make it a handout. And it tells me, well, you made this a handout, here it is, you can preview it, and this is exactly what the students would see, just like you guys saw. The next thing after that handout is we had a YouTube video, so I'll go ahead and add a YouTube video on growth mindset versus fixed mindset. And I think it was Khan Academy that I pulled from. So let's see what comes up for that. Oh, it's this one right here. If you have a particular YouTube video in mind and you know the title of it, you can actually just plug in the title here, and that way you can get that particular one. Otherwise, it'll just give you the top results, and there are many. You can even preview it if you're not sure that that's the one you want, but they are a safe search. I know this is the one I wanted, so that's fine. I'll go ahead and add it. Okay. So there's my video. So I have my title page, my first handout, my video. My second handout's all the way at the end, so I'll leave that one for now. The next thing I want to add are some game-based activities, and we did super sort and game show. But when I add these, you'll see that under game-based activities, we actually have quite a few game-based activity templates. So we can do a fill in the blank. You can see previews of it and what that might look like on the student's view. Flip out, sometimes we leverage flip out for like vocab, or maybe even if you want to create a real quick choice board for a project. So lots of different things that you can see here. What I did is a super sort. So I'll go ahead and select that activity, walk you through that process. A few here. So we have growth mindset is one category, and then we have fixed mindset is another. So growth mindset will be something like, I can get better at math with practice. Fixed mindset is, I will always be better at math. I'll do one more. Growth mindset is, I love challenges. Fixed mindset is, I avoid challenges. And so on until you have enough. You can have up to 10 different ones for each category. And like I said, you can even add images that would be from your computer. This lesson doesn't have any, so I'm not going to add those today. Finally, you can create a theme, custom, like we mentioned, or you can pick a theme from any of these. So for this one, maybe I'll pick the jungle one since that's the one I had before. And there is my super sort. So I can preview that if I want.
Oh, Teddy, there's a great question that came in the chat that I know right now while you're building, but it's, can you share these finished lessons with other teachers in the school?
Absolutely, yeah, you can absolutely share them with other teachers in the school, and I'll show you where to get that share link in just a minute. I'll show you one more thing, and that would be the game show that we played. Again, under game-based activities, like we said, there's so many of them. Oh, I think I just passed it. Oh, here it is. Okay, so I'll pick up the game show. And as you can see, you have multiple choice as well as true, false questions. So I'll just make one real quick. We'll say growth mindset is beneficial for learning. That is true. I'm not going to add any more. I'm just going to go ahead and finish and preview. This is what that looks like. Okay, great. Finally, I had that one last handout. So for this one, remember, this was the meme. I don't need to do anything to this handout, but I would like to convert it to a handout so that my students can do this on their own. So go ahead and make this page an individual handout activity. So at this point, I have my title slide, my first handout, my video, my 2 game-based activities I picked, and then my final handout that personalizes growth mindset as a topic towards each individual student. When I'm done, I will go ahead and I'm going to give it another title. I'll put example growth mindset lesson because I already have one differently labeled in my file, so I don't want to have too many. And I will simply finish editing. Once I finish editing, I see that it is right here today under something that I've made August 19th. And these are all organized chronologically, with the most recent being the first one. So here, this is where I would launch it. So I could start this activity, this lesson. Or what I more so want to do is get that lesson link because my students are going to do this lesson on their own. So over here, you have 3 dots at the bottom of the lesson. When you click that, you can see that you have a share link. Once you click share link, you see that you get a teacher share link, which you could send to a coworker, just like we were talking about, or a student access link. And this one is the one we want, where we can have students access the lesson outside of any synchronous instruction. So this is when I would copy this and maybe either put it in my Google Classroom or Canvas or whatever LMS you use. You would just copy that link, and then students can click the link and sign in, kind of like how you guys signed in with me to do this lesson on their own. So Johnny can do this lesson on, Saturday morning at 10 a.m. And then Susie could be doing it on, Friday at 5. It doesn't matter. All of their responses will be in this one file. So when I'm ready to look at what they've done, I just go ahead and start this lesson, and then I go through and see their handouts. Okay, are there any questions on that? Anything we need to show again?
In the chat, we have a couple questions. Do
Okay.
students have to create accounts for students?
No. Yeah, no, they don't have to create their own accounts. If your district is a Smart customer and they have Smart Learning Suite subscription, then the students would automatically have an account, and they just sign in single sign-on type, so they don't have to worry about creating an account.
And another question is, do all of the pages or slides have to be in a sequence before you launch them? And the question was, can we reorder pages?
Absolutely. In fact, let me go ahead and edit this lesson and show you what that would look like. You literally just click and drag and reorganize. I guess I must have gone in order, so I didn't need to do that. But for example, if I wanted the video to be the first thing we do after the title slide, I would just click and drag it over. If I wanted to rearrange some of these games, I would do that too. So I can rearrange anything I want, and I can even, once I'm editing, I can keep adding stuff if I feel like, oh, I actually want to add some more things to this lesson. And just remember to finish editing once you've done doing that.
So another great question is, if we want to do this lesson instead of self-paced, rather do it synchronously with students, how would we launch and deliver the lesson?
Great. So we would do pretty much what I did. I started this lesson, I was already screen sharing, but once I was in my Smart Learning Suite, or even in my Google Drive, if that's where you're launching it from, you would start in. And then similar to how you guys joined my class, that's how students would join your class. So I would expand my menu here, reveal my code and my information. Students would go to hellosmart.com, my code, but they would actually sign in as themselves. You don't have to. It's better for you because it'll save their work and everything like that. Okay, great question there.
And once they're in, you can move it from teacher pacing to student pacing, so they still have the opportunity to navigate between the different activities.
Yeah, absolutely. If you want to run this, Monday morning at 10, you want to run this and just give them like an hour to complete this lesson or whatever time frame, you could get them to join, just like we showed you, hellosmart.com, sign in with the code. And then you can toggle it onto student pacing, and that way students can go through the lesson on their own. And they don't all have to be on the same page. Great question.
And the question was also, can they use this synchronously as well? And that would work either in synchronous or asynchronous.
Yep. These activities that I've shown you today will work either way. But I selected them for asynchronous or self-paced because our webinar was specifically talking about that, since that's a need that we've seen in districts that we've been training with. But yes, absolutely. And if you are doing synchronous lessons, there's even more options for you. So like there's a couple of synchronous game-based activities that you could add to it as well.
Yeah, I would say just be careful that if you're going to do it asynchronously, like the self-paced lessons, to make sure it doesn't say student devices are required.
Right, exactly, yeah. Which most of them, it won't say that, but there's a couple that we like to use, but they're more so for synchronous lessons. Everything I've shown you today is asynchronous.
Some of our additional webinars every Wednesday at 3 will have some more of those examples with those activities that would be very appropriate for synchronous learning as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely check out some of our other webinars, either in the Ready, Set, Smart series or anything else we host. We do some events throughout the year that are usually free. So I will leave you with a couple of things here. Let's see what page I wanted to show you.
And next week's session is Stop, Collaborate, and Learn. So there'll be more opportunities for some of the synchronous learning with the collaborative tools, workspaces, and some other activities.
Yeah, that one will be great for synchronous learning because you're right, it is more collaborative. So please do attend that. Again, what we've done today are self-paced lessons. So if you're ready for the challenge that I'm giving you, feel free to do that and tag us on Twitter with @SmartPLN. Basically, just create a lesson with some of the tools we've shown you, YouTube video, handout, and maybe 1 or 2 game-based activities. And as you saw, it really can be done under 5 minutes. I probably took a little bit longer just because I was, narrating it for all of us and answering questions along the way. Also, we do have some resources, and Jen is actually going to drop this link in the chat as well. We have lots of links here. So if you do use Google Drive, there's a Google Guide specifically for that if you want further explanations. And then there's a link to sign up for additional Ready, Set, Smart webinars. And as Jen said, if you're interested in synchronous learning, definitely sign up for the Collaborate one that we're having, I believe, next week.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And finally, I did want to mention, because this is time sensitive, if you want to do some SMART certifications, they are 40% off until August 31st. So that's about a week and a half. So if you're interested in that, definitely take advantage of that 40% off with this code right here. Okay, any other questions I can answer before we start closing out?
And I have added the feedback survey to the chat. We would love to hear from you, hear how we did, so that we can continue to make the most of our webinars and improvements as we go along. Thank you, Teddy, for this awesome presentation. Great. I loved learning about the lessons in 5, and you made it so easy and so simple to be able to build and to explore and to see the potential and the possibilities within the tools. So remember to fill out the survey information that we've placed in the chat. And once you have filled out the survey, you can claim your PD certificate. We thank you so much for joining us this afternoon, and we look forward to seeing you all again next Wednesday for Stop, Collaborate, and Learn.
Bye, everybody.